Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life, known as Islam, will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd, فَإِنَّ أَصْدَقَ الْحَدِيثِ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ وَأَوْطَاقَ الْأُورَى كَلِمَةُ التَّقْوَى وَخَيْرُ الْمِلَالِ مِلَةُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَخَيْرُ السُّنَنِ سُنَّةُ مُحَمَّدٍ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah. Wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Qur'an. Wa khayrul umuri awazzimuha. Wa shayrul umuri muqtatatuha. Wa asanu al-hadyu hadyu al-anbiya. Wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada. Wa amma alama dalalatul ba'd al-huda. Wa khayrul amali ma nafa'a. Wa khayrul hadi ma utba'a. Wa shayrul amma al-kaw. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. In the Quran it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is the book, or that is the book, and there is no doubt in it for those who believe in Allah and the last day, and they seek hidayah. In it is guidance, sure, without doubt to those who believe. The best of communities, community of Prophet Ibrahim. Best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmaru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha anil fashai wal munkari wal baghi ya'idhukum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. And He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يُرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan wills to guide, He opens their breasts to Islam. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ Muslimun. O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and die not except in the state of Islam, or submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. As I said last week, in the old days, Asama was the name of the capital city. In Arabic, it's the capital of the city, Asama, the root where Atasimu comes from. And Asama also could be a fortification or defended place or position. So, وَأَتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Fortify and defend yourself. Jami'an, by holding on to the rope of Allah all together. When you pray by yourself, you get the full benefits of prayer. But when you pray in Jama'ah, it's 27 times better or 25 times better to pray in Jama'ah. So what this ayat is saying, وَأَتَصِمُوا, hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out to. وَأَتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, all together. And of course, be not divided amongst yourselves. كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. You are the best peoples ever raised up for mankind, because you enjoin the right, you forbid the wrong, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairul mursaleen. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Yaqulu Allahu ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala an-Nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Salu alayhi wa salimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is a very serious time in which we're living in, and I'm going to try to cover a few points. But I want to give you a little background on where you are, so you will understand where we're coming from and where we've been coming from for over 40 years. This is just the reality, and it doesn't have anything to do with how anybody feels about it or what have you. It's just the reality. This is a newspaper from Iran. This is old, because this is back in Imam's time. Imam passed away 30 years ago, 31 years ago, 1989. But you see here representatives from different countries. This is representative from Pakistan, right here. This is a representative, you can see the turban, from Sudan. This is a Palestinian representative. And here they have a picture of yours truly as a representative of the Islamic movement in North America. That's what this is, and that's so you understand. This is a few years ago. This is on the front page of their political newspaper in Iran. See, all the news is Iran, so I want to give you a little background about the martyrdom of a great personality in Islam, the head of the resistance movement worldwide with a long history, where he came from, and I want to let you know that we have the authority and the ability to explain to you what's going on in detail. It's not your responsibility to like it or not, or even believe it, but I'm still going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you with authority, like I know what I'm talking about. Walayati Faqih, it says, you can see the word, if you don't know, Walayati Faqih is the wilayah of the Faqih, the learned person in Islam. And this here, right here, you can see the word is still Farsi, but it's written in Arabic in a way. Fitna. This title right here says, Wilayati Faqih is a defense against global fitna. That's what it says. This was given at the University of Tehran. In fact, most of the guys there were old-timers from here. And the students, of course. They thought it was so excellent that they just put it on the front. They translated from English. Everybody I was speaking to spoke English because I was speaking to the English department at the University of Tehran. So they all knew English. They translated this, they put it on the front page of the newspaper. First, I was telling them about something they have that's very important. It's called Wilayati Faqih. That means when they talk about Iran and they say the supreme leader, it's like in the old days amongst the Muslims, the Khalifa. Now in Iran, they have that as a position. They have elected positions also. That's the president and all that. They have elected positions for the, not for the judiciary, but for the executive branch, the president, like they have three branches here, judicial, legislative, and what's the other? Executive. Yeah, they have all three. They have the same thing in Iran. But they have a committee, a selected committee, elected committee, that chooses the leadership. Wilayati Faqih. In the Muslim world today, we don't have that position. When the caliphate was destroyed or disbanded in 1924, from Uthmaniyya, the Ottoman Empire as they call it, in 1924, we have not had a Khalifa since then. Many of the Muslims around the world, maybe I'll go and give you a little history lesson, they felt that without a Khalifa, can we even practice Islam? And you know the strongest part of the Caliphate movement revival was from India, like Pakistan and all. Right, that's where it was coming from. The Caliphate movement. They believe that can we even practice Islam without an imam? Of course you can, but that was part of their question. Can we truly practice Islam without leadership? Right? That's what they was asking. This right here explains the difference from Iran, say in Afghanistan. Afghanistanis are not cowards. I mean, they fight harder and longer. They have been fighting now for over 40 years. First 10 years they fought the Russians. They defeated the Russians, sent them home. When the Russians came in, they were the great Soviet Empire, if y'all remember, 1979 in that period. When they left 10 years later, they left broken and humiliated. In Afghanistan, at that time the population was 16 million. The Soviet Union killed 1.6 million people, 10% of the population. Unheard of numbers. Them helicopters swooped down and they never broke them. They stood fast. Then after that came a period of self-rule. The West didn't like that, so they brought in the Taliban and other bums that they created. Most of the fitna in the world, Saudi Arabia, the United States, and the Israelis create that. If you have Daesh, you know, even though Donald Trump, he said Hillary Clinton and Obama created Daesh, you know, ISIL. He wasn't lying. He said Hillary Clinton did it, but it wasn't Hillary, it was Saudi Arabia. Ever since I've been a Muslim, or for the last 40 years, we have talked to the people about the great criminal in the world that wears the name of Islam. That's Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the biggest crooks. Right now, in Yemen, Saudi Arabia, the richest Arab country in the world, is slaughtering by the hundreds of thousands. Yemen is next door, the poorest Muslims. Right? What Pakistan don't have? Pakistan got, when I go to Pakistan, like you say, I got on Pakistani dress. The food, half the food we eat has that Indo-Pakistani flavor. When we came into Islam, we took the good, we were around everybody, and we took what we liked of Islam from all the people we associated with. Took a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and we have our own colored stuff that we take with us. We don't never leave that behind, because it's good. That part is good. So whether it's Pakistan, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's Iraq, or all that part of the Muslim world, what is the main problem with them? They don't have guided, directed leadership. What they call it walayati faqih, the leadership of the just faqih. All right. So that's what this says. Now, if you see a Negro speaking in detail in Iran, why did they figure this was so important? If you could read Farsi and you could read every little title, the necessity for Islamic unity. Any party. First of all, Imam Khomeini did away with parties while he was alive. Even the combatant ulama, no parties. Why? Because he thought parties, like here you got Democrats and Republicans, what do they put first? America or their party? They put their party first. They put re-election first. Their country come down 4th or 5th or somewhere on the thing, right? This is the trouble with parties. But in Iran, anyway, cliques develop that have certain ideas about economy. Okay, some have resistance economy, and some have, we want to cooperate with the West, we want to do this. The smartest president they had in recent years was Ahmadinejad. He had the West, when you listen to it, you said, man, this guy got the West down. Perfect. But the other guys, some of them that are there now, you can call them reformists or what have you. Well, they might be changing stripes now. They didn't like him. So it's all right. They don't have to like his policy, but here's what I told them they should do. When you have an election, however you choose your people, those people should put their issues out to the public. Right? Now, when they finish the election, everybody that was a part of the election, their crew and their party should help the other guy institute his policies. Because if you got 60% of the people on your side and the other 40% is against you, that means that 40% can drag you down so you can't get nothing done. Right? So they should, the public that made their decision, so they should support the one that won. If it's just too hard for them to swallow, they should remain neutral and not work against it. Because if you work against the policy, you're working against the country. You lost the election. If you can't help the guy, then at least don't say nothing against it. Do not get your clique to work against that party. This is what I'm telling them right here. Anyway, in the long run, I gave what's an outline for unity. I talked to them, and I'll stop them in a minute, about vision. You should have a vision of your country, what you want it to be like in 10 years and 20 years. Then you should devise plans and policies, which most of it they was already doing, on how you want your country to be, what you want your country to look like, right? Dealing with the environmental circumstances that you're dealing with. Okay, now, we have our own Daesh in America, and this is what happened to yours truly in Oakland. You see, they talk about putting knots on your head. Boy, look at here. When I went to the hospital, they started getting ready to open up my chest because they thought there was so much blood on my chest, right? I had a white t-shirt, it was absorbing all the blood. I mean, tons of it. So, you can see this little knots and ropes on it. You know, they used to say, I'll hook you upside the head till your head rope like oatmeal. That's what they did. Did I do anything about it? Not at that time. Why? Because that was a provocation. They had people coming by here. Even before that, man, I wouldn't take that. I would do this and I would do that. I told them, I don't care what you say. You don't have nothing to do with this. We have a policy. We have a place we going. You don't have nothing to do with it. So when I tell you about what I'm going to tell you about Iran today, I've already been through the same thing they just went through. Somebody trying to provoke them into a fight, right? Trying to get control of the agenda by making them not respond properly, but to make them respond in a hurry, right? To act irrational, to act emotionally, right? To act out of anger and to act without a strategic motive in mind. That's what happened just yesterday. In fact, we were in the Masjid talking about the exact same subject, almost word for word. The old doctor that operated on my head from Georgetown called, George, called at that exact time. If you measure when they assassinated those people over there, I don't want to get into science fiction management, but he called here and was talking to me. I was operated on brain surgery a year ago. I don't want to get into it, but I don't know what he had on his desk and what he was reading. Because you know, when they do stuff, I don't want to get into science fiction management. I'm going to slow down. But when I tell you this stuff right here, I'm telling you from 40 years of experience. I'm telling you from 98% accuracy. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. That's the way it's been. That's the way it is now. 98% accuracy. All the Iranians know it. Everybody here know it. And the government know it. We've been knowing it, so we have something that we have to do. If they know they're monitoring us, they know, and we know they've been monitoring us, then we have to give them very close to the truth, but elements of false readings that make them do things that are harmful to themselves, to enhance suicidal tendencies. That's what we call it. So get ready for a ride because we're just gonna. When we talk about here, Soleimani was a strategic actor. In other words, since he joined the effort during the Gulf War from 1980 to 1988 between Iran and Iraq, he moved up through the ranks. Why would they assassinate him? Because he had become the strategic manager of all the resistance, whether it's Syria, whether it's Hezbollah, right? Whether it's in Iran itself, whether it's in Iraq next door, whether it's the struggle in Yemen. He's the one that fought against Daesh. The U.S. supposed to be against ISIL, right? The guys that cut everybody's throat on TV, right? Supposed to be against that. Well, he's the one that defeated them in Iraq, helped break them down in Syria. He's the one that led the back-breaking effort that broke the back of the Saudi Arabian creation. I want to digress for just a minute. For the last 40 years that I know of, Saudi Arabia has spent money in Masjid and institutions to control the flow of Islam worldwide. All the madrasas, all of the institutions that you see, all of the ideas, most of it came from Saudi Arabia. The institutions they developed, when they changed MSA, right, to ISNA, 1981, 82, and 83, I was there at some of the main meetings. In fact, I believe in 83, in New Mexico, I might be the only one having recordings of those meetings. The transition from MSA, Muslim Student Association, to ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. But who controls these organizations? Who manages them? Who sends them money? Why? Most of the masajid, those big beautiful centers in America, they're owned by ISNA. And ISNA is controlled by Saudi Arabia. They try to ease away a little bit. So is ICNA, Islamic Society, Islamic Circle of North America. They all trying to ease away from Saudi Arabia. Why? Because Saudi Arabia is a criminal entity. They're the ones that teach this Wahhabism, right? They're the ones that teach it. And then y'all, you ever heard about Masjid al-Islam supposed to be a Shia masjid? Anybody heard that before? Anybody? Usually everybody. That's right, I thought. Everybody. Why? Why did they say that? Because we've been effective against them. Just like Soleimani has been effective, right, against the Saudi Zionist American creations, the big fitna groups, the big wars, right today. Saudi Arabia is behind it with money, with aid and assistance. Israel has helped directing it, right? Israel, the Zionist state of Israel, and there's the United States. We had a flyer years ago, what did we call it? Not Zionist. Triangle of Terror, something like that, right? Triangle of Terror. United States, the Zionist state of Israel, and Saudi Arabia. You can see it now, it's clear who they are. They failed drastically. Everything they did, they failed. They thought they had a little success in Syria. I mean, not Syria, but in Libya. When they downed Gaddafi, we didn't like Gaddafi. Gaddafi had his green book and he was against the Islamic movement. but he would help Negroes and other people and Africans. If you were a Negro-orientated Islamic movement, he'd loan you money and help you. Shoot, Gaddafi helped develop infrastructure all over, especially Northern Africa, Chad, and all of that. Uganda, they used to call him the King of Africa, because he'd help everybody, except the Muslims, of course. He was against Islam. He was for himself, man. But when Gaddafi got killed, right, assassinated, guess what? Gaddafi was a stabilizing force. Plus, he shouldn't have saved over $34 billion in gold. That made him, and talking about a new kind of currency. Everything you see on the news, all the poor people in Syria run away. Where they run away to? They run down to Libya. From Libya, they get on those rickety boats, right, and go to Europe. Europe and America cooperated with getting rid of Gaddafi. Now they're saying we don't want all those people coming in here. They caused their own problem. Every one of them, except Germany, of course. They need a few workers there, so they said, come on in. And they teach you German in 30 seconds. I mean, you see them Arabs, boy, look here. From Syria, they walk in the door one day and they walk out the next door speaking perfect German. Heil Hitler and all of that stuff. Well, they don't say that, but they be on the road. I mean, that's how fast, because they need them for their machinery. Remember, the German mechanized machinery, the Mercedes that they're driving all over the world, they need factories to keep running. So the Turks keep them running. When I was in Germany the first time, they just had Turks everywhere. You don't have to worry about colonization. There's a recolonization. They colonized us, the Muslims are recolonizing Europe. It's already a done deal. It's a done deal, finished. What does that mean? All the people they ran out, first of all, they had immigration. Then they ran everybody out of Syria, from the war to Libya that they destroyed. Gaddafi wouldn't let you come there, right? All the Africans, they steal all their wealth. They come to Libya. To come over here on them rickety boats, things got to be bad. I'm going to take a little while today, so if you got to go, just stand up and do your dua prayer and head on out here, because this is a serious time. And so we just getting started. So if you got to go back to work or something, just get on up and, do your takbirs and head on back. Okay. Because this is a serious time that we're living in. We talk about this time all the time. This is the time of the restructuring of the whole world apparatus. This is the time of the decline of the great American system. It's in serious decline. Don't worry about what the job numbers say. The system is in serious decline. At the same time, the Muslims are going through a revival. That's why we having all of this fitna to break down. Oh, they'd have demonstrations in Iraq. Who created those demonstrations? The United States, the Zionists, and Saudi Arabia. Why the embassy? They saying in Iraq, you got the U.S. embassy, you got to go. Why? Before, the biggest embassy in the United States was in Cairo, 10 years back and 30 years back. 3,500 employees in the embassy. Why? Because in those days, Cairo was a center of fitna against the Muslims. They had signed a treaty with the Zionists, right? They was getting $3 billion a year for the army support, not the people support. Went to the army only. And they had to send that money back to buy American weapons, right? So actually they didn't give them nothing. They just gave a free ride to the arms manufacturers. Of course, the arms that Egypt got was some kind of way at least 5 years behind what they give to the Zionists. Because what they give to the Zionists, the $3.8 billion that they've been getting, they don't have to send it back for weapons. They get free weapons. And do you know what? If you have agencies around in the U.S., I don't know if they still do it, but they did this all the way up that I can remember. They would collect all that money, extra money, and they would send it to the Zionist state. Yes, they would. Now, what about us? Here we are here in America. I'm telling you, we're right here in the loveliest place in the world. It's a nice place to be, especially during this war. This is where we should be. You know, I have a friend, he was at an Iranian program about 5 years ago in Denver. This Negro is so bold. He was giving a speech in the main program for Iran, the Iranians are having, and he went in there and he said, today, I am taking over the defense of the Islamic Republic in the United States. That's what the Negro said. It's on the record. That's what I was watching. I said, good God Almighty. He said, yes, you guys, you modernists, you easygoing, sweetie pie Muslims, you have no more right. These are the representatives of Iran. They got the big show downtown. They got, let's call it the embassy. They got, he told them, of course he knew them all for 35 years in, 40 years now. So you don't have no more right to speak for the Islamic Republic in America. We taking that over. Or technically he said, I'm taking that over. I said, good God Almighty, that is a serious Negro there. Do you know what the Iranians said? Nothing. Nobody, they just like, makes sense. They didn't say, you can't do that. We're the official representatives. We run the whole show here. We got all the money. We do this. They didn't say that. They said, Okay, now, you got to remember, now we'll do our real opening. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَقَدْ مَكْرُوا مَكْرُهُمْ وَإِنَّ اللَّهِ مَكْرُهُمْ وَإِنْ كَانَ مَكْرُهُمْ لِتَزُولَ مِنْهُ الْجِبَالُ. It's the same ayat I read in Jum'ah last week, if you all remember. Mighty indeed were the plots which they made, but their plots were well within the sight of Allah, even though they were such as to shake the hills. I use the word, what the Quran, makr, wa makru, wa makrullahu, Allahu khairul makirin. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. In this ayat, they're saying, Allah is saying that the makr, the plans, the schemes of the West and the enemies of Islam are so great, so big, so well put together, so systematic, that if they were to come to fruition, tazalu minhu al-jibalu, they would, the hills would disappear. The translation says it would shake the hills. But if these people were successful in their plots and schemes, they would disappear Islam from the face of the earth. That's how serious they are about this. Right. Now, just want to hit you with a couple more, and then I'll start the real lecture. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةً حَسَنَةً لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَيَوْمَ الْآخِرَةِ وَذَكْرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. You have indeed in the Messenger of Allah a beautiful pattern of conduct for any whose hope is in Allah and the final day, and who engages much in the praises of Allah. That means you have in the Messenger of Allah a beautiful pattern of conduct. You have a model to follow. I'm just going to read the English from now on. When the believers saw the Confederate forces, they said, "This is what Allah and His Messenger had promised us." And Allah and His Messenger told us what was true. And it only added to their faith and their zeal and obedience. This is from Ashab, the companions. Everybody in Arabia was aligned to destroy Islam. Right? And the believers said, when they saw the Confederate forces, right, they said, "This is what Allah had promised us. This is history in the making." Always you have someone rising up, and when you have someone rising up with the truth, and it catches on, falsehood so far have failed to stamp it out. But there comes a time when there's a unified effort of kufr, of non-belief, to challenge the truth, to challenge Islam, right? And all the people knew it. They say, "This is what Allah promised us. This is normal." Zadahum. It means it increased their faith. It didn't make them scared. They said, "This is what Allah promised us. We already knew this was coming." Anybody living today, any of the so-called Muslims, have their head in the sand if they didn't know that this was coming. And we kind of cruising over here. But as things, they've already assaulted the Muslims in America. Scared them to death. All the stuff about immigration, all the stuff about they have the right to infiltrate, sabotage our Islamic activity, right? That's what they do. All your centers are sabotaged. And they have been for a long time. And if you even think about developing some group that, y'all remember Black Lives Matter down in Ferguson? Remember how I don't want to get into it. But they infiltrated in 2 or 3 days. Pretty soon when you look on the internet, you see people that we don't respect leading Black Lives Matter movement. They send people that we don't particularly like. And when you look at Black Lives Matter, you look at somebody saying, "Black Lives Matter," right? Tell the truth. So you may not say, "I don't like them people," but you know one thing. Ain't nobody, I don't care whether it's a church or a masjid, they don't like those guys. And there's no problem with us. Do what you want to do. There's no problem with that. May it help the population. If all of them get together, the boys with the boys, the girls with the girls, population cut, finish. No population problem because they can't reproduce. They may adopt 10 out of 1,000,000, but that's all right. So, you don't know what Allah's plan is. Let them get together and hook it up. Right? Pretty soon it won't be nothing left but good Muslims and good Christians. Wouldn't that be nice? A couple of good Jews, not Zionists. Right? The religious people. So you don't know what Allah's plan is. But anyway, when the believers saw the Confederate forces, they said, "This is what Allah and His Messenger had promised us." And Allah and His Messenger told us what was true. And it only added to their faith and their zeal and obedience. Among the believers are men who have been true to their covenant with Allah. Of Of them, some have completed their vow to the extreme. They've been martyred. They completed a mission. Some still wait. That's me and you. But they have never changed their determination in the least. Okay, it never had nothing to do with that. Just one more I want to read for you. Alladina kala lahum an-nasi inna an-nasa kad jama'un lakum fahshahum fazadahum imanan wa kala hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Men said of them, a great army is gathering against you. So fear them. But it only increased. It only increased them. But in Allah, increased their faith. They said, for us, Allah is sufficient, and He is the best disposer of affairs. You know, when you're going up a hill or you're going through something, you'll see or you hear Palestinians say, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is right. Or going up, Allahu Akbar, you know what I mean? You're going down, Subhanallah. In each case, in the Quran, when a great army was coming against the Muslims, it didn't scare. It increased their faith. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today. We said Soleimani was a strategic actor. He did everything basically correct as far as unifying and harmonizing the resistance all over that area. So you'd see him in Syria. You would see him fighting Daesh. You would see him in Iraq fighting Daesh. You would hear about his exploits in Lebanon with Hezbollah. You would hear about him sending aid and assistance to Yemen, right? So he was a strategic actor. He was basically correct. There's another strategic actor in the United States, but this is a strategic ideologue. I don't know whether it upsets your stomach or not, but there's somebody in this country, let's say they're 91% accurate. Of course, it's better than that. Accurate on everything that goes on over there and everything that happens here. Anybody want to remember, just remember what you've had here. Just like they get rid of people over there, what do you think they do here? A person accepts Islam and happen to be in a grocery store or something, somebody slides up to him, a Saudi agent, well, what masjid do you go to? Oh, I go to Masjid al-Islam. Oh my God. There's Shias over there. They sacrifice little baby, anything. I don't care what it is. Like they used to do Idi Amin. You know what I mean? They do the same thing here to us. They've been doing it. It ain't nothing new. They fill up the ranks, then they flatten them out. What do? We don't care. We keep going. We come to the masjid, we wait for 3 people to get here. That's enough for us. Some say 40, but 3 is enough. We start the Jum'ah. If 3 don't come, fine, we'll pray through it. That's all. We started that from over on 8th Street. Because of this type of thing, you don't allow people to set your agenda by what they do. You just don't allow it. Because you become what's called reactionary. You react, right? to what they do. We call it shaping and herding. They did it to the foreigners. They do it to the Negroes too. But they put a little out here, they give them a little challenge here, and then they run over that way, then they do something over there, then they run them over that way, right? Pretty soon, they call shaped and herded. They shaped their behavior and herded them. Down the road they go. Why you don't hear nothing about no Islamic movement here in the West? Why all their famous speakers are not talking about this? Why is the Muslim world aflame and you go to Jum'ah and they don't even mention it? They don't mention it in Salatul Jum'ah anywhere in the United States. Maybe 5%, maximum. And they mention sweetie pie stuff. Oh, we're against this, we're against that, we love Rohingyas, da, 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 but not too heavy. Right? See what I mean? They don't give you no details as though they don't even know. That's why we get whacked upside the head, but we respond when we get ready. Our defense on this is absurdity defense. We ain't gonna get into that, but we say that the United States government is absurd and ignorant and stupid and inconsistent in their policy. That's what they do to us. Now, what do you think they do around the world? Let me go on and get to the issue now. So the first thing you have to do is master your battle space, the area in which you're working. That calls for strategic thinking, but now it calls for strategic depth. Strategic depth is that you have layer and layer. If they martyred Soleimani and they think that that ends the struggle, number one, if it makes them mad over there and they respond right away without preparation, without strategic thinking, that they have to sit down right now. They cannot react. They got to go radio silent. Just shut up and get busy thinking, planning, and organizing. What is the best for us to do right now? What is the best for us to do in 1 month, in 1 year? Where do we want to go? Why did all of this stuff happen? Right? Who are we? Why did they martyr him? They martyred him because of success after success. The Rahbar said it was jealousy. That they were jealous that he was so effective. Right? Same here. The Americans are jealous because the Negro then outsmarted him on every, and I know you said that Negroes can't be running around, right? Yes, we whooped that cracker on every step. Every step. Sure, he does stuff to you, like cracking you upside. You don't like it. But you got to think about the long. Remember, all of our writings talk about what? Not only longevity, but they say this is a protracted struggle. It's not last week, this week, tomorrow. This is a long, you got to think about the long run. Every today issue have to feed into the funnel of what will this do for us in 5 years? What will it do for us in 10 years? Right? What will it do for the final Islamic struggle in our time? Each group of people gonna fight their own struggle. You and I, you can try to hide all you want. You can sit in your house, it don't make no difference. Everybody will eventually, as you can see, be involved in the effort. So strategic thinking, strategic depth. What about the second, the third, and the fourth string? What about when your second string may be almost as good as the first string? What about if your second and third in command might have watched everything you've been doing and you've taught and trained them for now 30 or 40 something years? In Iran, the military has strategic depth. Not only Islamic Revolutionary Guards, not only them, but also besieged, volunteers, Air Force. They have millions of people involved in those things. Iran has improved strategic depth. Iran is number 4 or 5 in the world in drones. Do you know in 2012, those big, beautiful American drones, Iran stole one right out of the air and then reverse manufactured it. So in 2012, they had their most advanced weapons, and America said they didn't really get ours, it crashed. So Iran just put on a video. You remember them videos? It showed the thing taking off from the US base, flying all around, and then landing. So America shut up. That's 2012. How fast? 2012. Man, my goodness. That's 8 years ago. You know how technology advanced? Iranian technology on missiles, as of my last understanding, can hit anything within 6 feet or something. So it might, instead of hitting the table, it might hit over there if it goes wrong, if it goes crooked. Right? Strategic depth in administration. That means the second string might have been on the bench, all that, just waiting for time to play. They bring them in, and they bring them in to play a little bit, and they play as good as the first string. And then they might be so juiced up that they might wind up in a month or two playing better than the first string did, because they just biting at the chops. I want to get out there and show what I can do. Same thing in leadership. Leadership and administration. That's called strategic depth. They already have that. The United States, you think they did good? They failed. They effed up really bad. Sister and brother, let me keep on. Never allow people to provoke you. Responsibility in our language means the ability to respond. Your responsibility as manager of millions of people, billions in resources and equipment, is to use your ability to respond when it's beneficial to your movement, beneficial to Islam. So you respond when you want to respond. You respond where you want to respond, right? You want to respond in the environment you want. They don't dictate. They can't come up to you, if it's me, bust me upside the head and make me do something to them. Them Negroes got super coverage. We've been trying and tested them for years, super coverage. What my son told me last month before that. He said, Dad, we had a trial run on them Negroes and that was the police. I said, oh, you shouldn't have done it. I told y'all, leave them Negroes alone. I told you the police got them covered. You can't do nothing to them till the police want something done to them. Right? The police gonna drop them like they'll do all snitches. Right? They're gonna drop them like a hot potato. When they want to get rid of them, they're gonna get rid of them. If they don't do it themselves, they'll have some other stew. So you don't get involved. You don't worry about it. But we were just trying to see. I said, I told you. Didn't I tell you? Yes, you did. In a protracted struggle, it's the long-range view, protracted, laid out, stretched out. Never respond. Never be provoked. I told a judge at the court last month, must have been last month, I said, look here. I said, those people that have filed that report on me, they don't know that this stuff goes all over the world and they know that they the bombs, but the judge is pretending. I don't know what's presented here. I said, our first rule is never fight Negroes. Yeah? Never fight other people. I said, we keep focused on you, system. I said, you can't make me fight no another Negro. I said, we learned that 100 years ago. Why? East Coast rappers, West Coast rappers, right? Making big money. All of a sudden they fight. Why? Because they're making too much money, too well organized. So you have the niggas kill each other. Pretty soon, Tupac dead, everybody dead. The white man was back there. So you have the Cali cartel, right? And then you have the Medellin cartel. Billions, probably trillions of dollars. Pretty soon, they fighting each other, right? Pablo Escobar eventually is dead and gone. And they take all that money and put it back in their kitty, right? Always somebody, one African tribe, fight another tribe. You people who were under British rule, remember? Divide, conquer, and rule. Pharaoh did it. What did Pharaoh do? He divided the people up in sections. Remember that? This section against that section. It's just natural. That's what a dictator does. Keep you fighting each other. Mexican cartels. They're doing fine. They have a peace treaty. They're just making all the money they can. Pretty soon, Sinaloa cartel, Zetas, they're fighting each other. They're not making as much money as they used to. Why? Because thousands of people are getting killed in Mexico. They weren't getting killed before. I'm telling you, you don't let nobody, this is a cardinal rule, set your agenda. Never, under no circumstances, never let nobody set your agenda. Who you like and who you dislike, right? All right, we're gonna speed up here. So you gotta be able to take the pressure. Iran right now has to be able to take the pressure of what they want to do. Oh man, I want to go and they did this, and we want to get them back. No, sir. And people, they got to be able to take the heat. We talked about that last night in this masjid, right? They have to be able to take the heat. That was before the thing happened. But we was talking about that subject. They have to be able to stand there and people coming by that don't care nothing about you telling you, you ought to do this, you ought to do that, man. I wouldn't take that. That's what people were doing to me. You can't let people, one of our greatest leaders, all he did, make him mad. Now I know he didn't do it. And they say he shoots the police. He's been in prison now 20 years or so. In 2000, he went to the penitentiary. Man, you out here running around, that ain't nothing. 20 years in the penitentiary. March 16th, 2000. Right? Why? Off a little funny thing like making somebody angry. Right? That's all it was. Just making them angry. You can't let nobody make you mad. Then you do, if they do this one more time, I'm going to do that. Do it all they want. You ain't getting me to respond. They can use the sophisticated tricks or a little bitty trick. They don't care which one. They don't care what hook they use. Right? They don't care what snare they use, as long as it works. Now, wait. Take your time. Pause. Wait for all kind of reasons. Number one reason, you wait to make your preparation. If you're going to do something, prepare for it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. You prepare for what you're going to do, right? The next thing is not only preparation, but you're so organized and you're so structured that whatever you do, have the blessings of your environment. In other words, put pressure on them. They trying to put pressure on you. The pressure of non-activity. I ain't doing nothing. Makes them mad. Why? What is the characteristic of your great president? He's a damn fool. He's impulsive. He don't think things through, right? You can see it. The Zionists told him to do that because, see, the Zionists are madder and are more afraid. They are afraid of the Islamic Republic. Why? Because you look at that region. Hey, they call it the Persian Gulf. We done talked about it before. Iran, Iraq, Syria. Those are the biggest populated countries over there. Then you swoop around Lebanon, where Hezbollah is. And in the last few years, you have saw 20 to 30 million people in Arbain going to Najaf and Karbala. By the millions. Anybody see that on TV? Millions. What does that mean? Being involved with the brothers, you study the people. We've said here in many lectures, if you keep scratching Shias, eventually you're going to hit blood. Then you're going to hit resistance. We don't care what you're talking about. If you watch the war, 1980 to 1988, it was a frenzy of martyrdom. It ain't never happened in history. You would have to be, every day you was, man, that's serious. They used poison gas. They used satellite imagery from the U.S. and gave it to Saddam. They did all of that. And the Iranians survived. Right? Then they have another part of the culture. It's a culture of martyrdom. See, all the heroes in Shia history are martyrs. Even if they wasn't a martyr, they stick a martyr. Everybody martyr. Right? I went to programs and houses here, and somebody may have died a year ago, so they have a meeting. And it'd be actually a frenzy. It'd actually be a frenzy. I'm just telling you the truth. I give you just, in St. Louis, the first Shia program I went to, they wanted me to speak at the Imam Hussein program. And I spoke, and then they turned the lights out. And then they got into stretching out. They turned the light, they had a couple candles lit. And the brothers, now this is 40 years ago almost. So I'm the only Sunni in there, and this is the first time I've been to one of them programs. I'm used to them now. Actually, I like it. And when they got into Imam Hussein, hey man, I said, this is really serious business here. And I say, I better get out of here because I'm the only Sunni in here, so I'm going to get on. But I did, this is a joke. This is a joke. But what it is you learn to read the community. I've told the brothers many times, they used to come to me, the Iranians in the 80s and 90s, and they would ask me the question, what are we going to do next? That's what they would ask me. What are we going to do next? And then we would tell them. Just automatically. Why? Because we had our finger on the pulse. Then and now. Any of you ever heard us talk about this subject? Just run it back in your mind. How accurate were we then, and how accurate are we now? This is the way the world looks right this minute. Technically, the Shias are managing the Islamic revival. Allah handed it to them. That's the way it goes. Every big deal that happened and survived, like the big struggle in Afghanistan, that's big. But they didn't have Vilayati Faqih, remember? They didn't have it. So they didn't have unity and focus of leadership. That's what this thing is about. That's why it says, Vilayati Faqih is a safeguard against global fitna. That's what it says. Right now in the world today, Iran, look at the map, 90% Shias. Iraq, 70% Shias. Lebanon, huge number of Shias. Syria, some, but Syria might as well be because the Islamic Republic, look at the strategic alliance. Years ago, Iran survived the greatest epic in history by itself. When they was fighting that war, 1980 to 1988, I was just shocked myself. I'm right there giving speeches all over, running around the country, going back and forth to Iran, but my mouth was wide open. And I would tell them, y'all, hey man, you don't know what you're doing. You just don't know. Because never in history had any country been surrounded by the whole world with no help from none of them. Saudi Arabia, $50 billion. Kuwait, $33 billion. Egyptian pilots and technicians and engineers, Jordanian regulars, Sudanese mercenaries, all helping Saddam in Iraq, and they survived. Poison gas everywhere, and Iran survived. On the Fao Peninsula in 1988, Iran was so isolated when they accepted that Imam called it drinking poison. Iranians on the Fao Peninsula was technically throwing rocks at Iraqis because they didn't have no weapons. I mean, they didn't have bullets and things. They, you know, they got smoke detectors to detect smoke. They got detectors that detect poison gas too. You know, like you're on the battlefield, they got, that was 80, 20, 30, 40. That was a long time ago. They've been had all of that. Yugoslavia had them, everybody, but Iran could not get them from nobody. In Iran, they was using poison gas. I don't know if y'all remember all those people they sent to Europe with that they've been using poison gas. You know, a lot of our friends died. If not right on the spot, they died later. I'm just telling you, this is an analysis. You can go the way you want. Right now, the 20s and 30 millions of people going to Iraq, you know, so technically Hajj is not nowhere near the biggest meeting of Muslims. It's 2 million people, 2.5 million people go to Saudi Arabia. They just finished Arbain going to Iraq. 20, 25, even 30 million people going for ziyarah, going for a visit. And you don't hear nothing about it, no problem. What's that doing? I'm just going to speed up a little bit. Technically, the Shia world is getting ready. Haven't we talked about it here? We're saying Allah is getting them ready. They don't even know why they're getting ready. They're getting ready for now. They are ready now. 30% of Afghanistan is Shias. 30% of Pakistan is Shias. 90% of Iran is Shias. Right? 70% of Iraq is Shias. Now it's a strategic alliance. Iran survived the greatest war in history by itself with no help from nobody. And most of the people working against it. They already done that. So they will set aside for something. the millions of people going to Najaf and Karbala, if they tell you the Shia is as bad as Shia, they just going crazy. They're probably jealous. Saudi Arabia telling you how bad Shias are, Khadim al-Haramain, and they have the princes as dope fiends and dope addicts, right? And alcoholics shipping alcohol in Quranic boxes. Drunkards, cowards, misfits, right? And there's a separation coming right now. Two teams. Let's call it the revolutionary team and the reactionary team. Those reactionaries will be on one side with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, maybe Kuwait, a couple more of them bums. They're bums. The side that takes the side of Iran, Persian Gulf. Strategic alliance. It's not lonely anymore. Iran, Iraq, Syria. That's a strategic alliance. Already. Then you have the crooked Soviet Union back there, maybe whispering a few things. In fact, they just had a exercise in the Persian Gulf. Iran, China, and Russia. Nobody's dependent on them. Remember, Iran got enough sense to depend on itself. Love as many people as you can. Dear brothers and sisters, the separation is between Haq and Batil. Saudi Arabia, the Israelis, right? The Americans are on the side of Batil. Bad. The Haq, the other team, that's us of course, is moving on this side. In every great transformation, there's a separation of teams. You know, before the revolution in Iran, they used to have nude beaches up on the Caspian. The Shah's people. Nude beaches on the Caspian Sea. Y'all heard about that. Up there. In Iran. In 75, 76. I used to be in the dope trade. Do you know some of the biggest dope dealers in the world? They used to call them jet set Iranians. Was Iranians. When I was in Germany and I wanted to meet people involved in dope, I would meet Iranians down on Leopoldstrasse. But the revolution is coming and people are moving fast to different teams. To Islam and to Jahiliyyah. That's happening again right now. Pre-revolution, this is always what happens. Call it take sides, call it a civil action. People, even in a civil war, when something happens, they take sides. Right? In this, you can see the Islamic forces have technically already won because the strategic management involved, the historical process of unity of course and unity of action is all on the side of Iran and the Shia community. So if you want to get mad at Shia, go ahead, that's your business. I ain't mad, I'm happy to see the brothers. Not the ones here in D.C. They funny. I'm telling you, they're my friends, but they still funny. They'll be right in a while. The U.S. gonna whoop them till they get right. They gonna get their act right. You know? Okay. And they better send the right message home too. That you're ordered to do these things. You're not, nobody asking you to do them. Being told to do them. Depend on Allah, yourself, history. This stuff was not thought through. When they attacked, look, loss and gain. The U.S. attacked, there's 10 people in the caravan. All 10 of them were killed. 5 of them are from the Iraqi structure, right? Leadership struggle. And the other 5 are from the Iranian. So they say, we want to stop Iran. You can't stop it by killing people. Both are Shias with a long history of anti-colonial struggle. I don't want to get historicized, but you know the Shia ulama in Najaf supported the Sunni rebellion against the British in the 1920s. In the 1920s, I'm telling you, that the people are not crazy. They are now, we're living during the period of this great Islamic struggle. And at this time, somebody has to lead it. Why? Because they have the structure of Vilayat Faqih intact, and nobody else does. We don't have that structure. That's just the way it is. And I don't care, the people here, the Equanis and all the rest of the mumbo-jumbo brothers, first they try to co-opt you and get you with them. Then when you don't join, they cut you off, and then they make some other Negroes popular. All the Negroes that you know. But none of the Negroes are talking about what we're talking about here today. Nor have they been talking about anything serious. Okay, we're going to speed up. We're almost ready to close. Just be patient a little bit. One of the most ancient things is know yourself, know your enemy. 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. That's come way back from China. Of course, the Hadith says seek knowledge even in China, right? Know yourself, know your enemy. 1,000 victories, 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. You know that the U.S. is impulsive. That's a weakness that they have. They don't think through what they do. It's another weakness. They depend on desire. We want this to be a reality. During the old days, when they was a big boy on the block, they could wish things into existence. We want this country in South America to collapse. And somebody down will collapse. They can't do that now. Venezuela is still there rolling, isn't that right? Still there rolling. Okay. Know yourself. Know your enemy. 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. Do you know that about manipulation of dreams? Yeah. I don't even do science fiction, but I've been threatening to teach on scientific management for 15 years. I just haven't did it because I didn't. I can do it now a little bit closer. Scientific or science fiction management is if they got something planted in you and they can study you in detail and you know what they're doing, you can manipulate your dreams. You dreaming, you can wake up. Not enough to make the little thing they monitor go off. But you can wake up and you can manipulate the dream where you dream what you want. The only reason you don't know that or do it because you haven't tried yet. It takes a while, like everything, but you can manipulate your dreams. You can also manipulate your thinking. Remember the last couple of ayats in, I'll be paraphrasing, in Surah Baqarah, where it says that Allah will hold you account for, your thinking and all that. So the Sahaba go to the Prophet ﷺ and say, we can control what we do, but we cannot control the dumb ideas. Everybody, can you imagine some of the dumb stuff popping in your mind? It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. You wouldn't nobody. Sometimes I go, good God Almighty, right? Tell the truth. Everybody do it. So the Sahaba was saying to the Prophet, sallallahu, we can control, like, you know, our nafs, what we do. We can say, you know, shaitan can say, go jump in the lake. You say, you go jump in there yourself. You can do that. But sometimes them thoughts can slip in, and they're so ridiculous. So they were not accountable for that. Train yourself. Control your thoughts. Not totally, not all the time. But you want to fool the white man. So you control your thoughts. You can do it. Yes, you can. You can control your dreams. You know, you're getting ready to fall off a cliff in a dream, you can have a big giant bird come by and take you over and drop you on the beach. Yes, you can. You can do it. I know people who've done it. I know people that do it on a semi-regular basis. Because the longer you do it, the better you get. This might be getting a little deep now. If you know you're being monitored by the white man, up close, I mean, and you know it. How you know it? Well, I got to test it 5, 10, 20 times to see, right, where this boy coming from, and where he's at. And he goes right along every time, same thing. So then you know you got it. Same thing about blind spots. Every system has blind spots. You know why black people haven't defeated the white man in America? Because he never got the nerve, the courage. He didn't last long enough to try the blind spots. To find them. You know, blind spots. In a system. He got them. Every system has blind spots. Where you can sneak up on him on the side and he can't see you. Or you can come directly at him and he see you, but he don't know why you're there or what you're doing. Because it looks like something different. Why? Because you didn't study his history and you know when he looks at something, what he thinks about what he's looking at. Right? So you come at him in a way that he's going to interpret your arrival in certain ways. Why? Because that's the way he sees you. And if he see you as a Negro with limited intelligence, boy, this is great. That's the nicest arena for underestimation. He ain't going to underestimate you forever, but he underestimates you because I created them niggas. I made them niggas. They can't think but so high. Right? He's certain of that. But that arrogance, that certainty that he has is his weak point. That's why he's weak. He knows nigga can't think that way. But let me tell you, I'm going to go on and say a few more things and I'm going to close. But one of the secrets is longevity. Do you know our movements never got a chance to get... Technically, I've been a part of this thing for over 50 years. You know, for over 50 years. Jahiliyyah, here, you get a chance to learn. One of the greatest learning is big-time gangsterism. You know, big-time gangsterism. It teaches you why. Because in that world, you don't have no you do not have an opportunity to say, let's go back. Like in a test in school, you can take that boy over, right? You can't take no, in that part of the dude, you cannot take no test over. You either get killed, boom, goodbye, brother. You go to the penitentiary, see you in 20 years. That's in those days. Now we see you in 40 or 50 years. Or never again. Right? That's the way they got it hooked up. So, you learn naturally to depend on yourself for certain things, ideology and everything. I'm going to just give you a quick example. I was telling the brothers here that back in the early 70s, our first shipment of cocaine from Colombia to Mexico and in the United States. The first leg of the trip, me and the whole, this is our first, we going at this first time. So when we take it from Colombia to Mexico, I help him. We in it together. It was two women following us around. White woman and a black woman. In a half an hour, we had packed the cocaine on them to take it across the border, Mexico City, Tijuana, or whatever, and then across the border. I told him last month, it was last month I told him, in Oakland. I said, do you know why I packed that lady up, those ladies up? He said, it's a slick game and everything. I said, absolutely not. I said, I knew they was the police. I knew they was the police. And they was there for me to pack. They didn't follow. Who you gonna trust with thousands of dollars worth of pure cocaine, right? And they just have you to know them a half hour. And they following you. You go this way. So I said, let me go that way. Then we go that way. And they follow. So the police sent them to follow you. Introduce themselves. So come on. In a half hour, we got them upstairs in the hotel, packed up with the cocaine, ready to go. I said, why do you think I did that? He said, I don't know. I thought it was slick. I said, what slick? I said, they was the police. Because at that stage of the game, I knew the police controlled in South America. I knew they controlled the transportation. And I knew that all of our connections was the police in Colombia, right? And they gonna let us roll for a while, which they did, and get a little bigger. Then they gonna come back and get the money back, like they do all of us, isn't that right? You get your money, you roll big, you drive a big pretty car, diamonds and everything, and pretty soon they got the money back. The lawyers, the bail bondsmen, right? Everybody get a piece of your money. That's what we learned in Jahiliyyah. We learned that the system is rigged 100%. Famous Negroes, they famous because famous lawyers, Negro lawyers, they famous because they want them to be famous. They make them famous, right? Spokesmen, they famous Negroes because they want them to be. Remember, Malcolm called them hand-picked Negroes. Y'all remember that? He called them then, it was over 50 years ago, 60, hand-picked Negroes. I'm saying that to say, if that was 50 years ago, we had time to evolve through the black movement and this and that and the other and all other stuff. You know, after the Civil Rights movement, Civil Rights, Black Power, Black Nationalism, Black Liberation, BLA, Black Liberation Army, and finally, Islam, right? They handed us Islam. It was our natural inheritance. And then we gave it away. We gave it away to foreigners that don't know what to do with it, right? We gave it away. We became spokesmen on their platforms, not managers. The Negro became stooges for the immigrant community. Now our job is to hand it back to the people that know what to do with it, right? Because in America, they don't know what to do with it. The other thing is longevity. I'm going to put in a minute because I know y'all get it. Longevity means you have the time to acquire knowledge in depth, and it becomes ingrained. becomes like there's a natural guidance system within you that helps. Of course, it's a lot. But you have time to develop all the necessary tools for survival and continuation. Look at all of our movements. In the 20s, we had Marcus Garvey, we had other people. What they do, they destroyed all this stuff, right? And then run him off. Y'all ever heard of Hubert Harrison? During those days, remember we studied him. Hubert Harrison was a smart Negro. He was really for black people and smart. They just took him off the agenda and put the other Negroes on the agenda, right? Yeah. They took him off the agenda. Hubert Harrison, look him up. That's what they done tried to do here in America. To take the struggling Negroes off the agenda. It ain't gonna work. I'll move toward a close. Number one, we don't care about what they do. We don't care about how many people come here. We don't care nothing about that. We got a job we're gonna do because that job has to be done. It don't have nothing to do with fame, with glory, with money, and none of that. That's our view of it. And Iran knows that. Did y'all, you ever heard of Vincennes? The Vincennes shot down Iran air over the Persian Gulf. 290 people, maybe 88 was killed. U.S. didn't even say they were sorry. They just blew them out of the air. Men, women, and children. It was a civilian airliner. They said, we didn't know. Yeah, the airliners fly one way, warplanes fly another. How they take off, how they, all that stuff. They know what they're looking at. They didn't even say they were sorry. Do you know in 1987, the Mecca massacre? Saudi Arabia killed 600 Iranians in Mecca in 1987. Now, maybe y'all don't remember that. But you know, the martyrdom, the ceremonies go like this. When I went out to the IC, I was in Indiana, going to the, actually I was going to their school. Their summer program, Arabic and Quranic, When this happened, I told the Iranians, I said, y'all stop by and pick me up and we'll go to they have a demonstration here in D.C. I came to the demonstration here in D.C. Then after the demonstration, we went out to the IAC. I was never more proud of Iranians at that time than ever. You know why? They was out there at the IAC, and they was kind of quiet, but they said, you don't even, talking about the rest of the people, don't even consider us human beings. We're gonna make this, hey man, you could see it. They were saying, don't make no difference. We're gonna make this. I mean, they didn't know that's what they were saying to themselves. They didn't understand, but I could look at them and see they were convinced we gonna make this. You shoot our airliners down, you kill us in Mecca, and you say, so what? Right? We're gonna make this, and they did. Hey man, I'm telling you, last thing, dear brothers, get on the winning team. Don't let nobody come to you and tell you about Sunnis and Shias and this, that, and other. Don't let them do that. If you do, you are not intelligent. Imam Khomeini said Sunnis and Shias are brothers. They're like scissors, the same pair of scissors, two wings that fly together. Right? This is the teachings of Imam Khomeini, Wahda. They still have unity program. There are some Iranians don't want to have no unity. You just have a program down there, downtown, what was it, Marriott or something, some big old hotel. Just last week, I went down there for about an hour, and I said, I ain't coming back. It's the first one I done missed in 40 years. Why? I didn't like the atmosphere. I didn't like the way it looked. Now I'm telling you, I don't like this and I don't like that. Don't get disrupted by me saying, I'm only telling you this from 40 years of accuracy. That's what they have to do in Iran, and I'll close with this. You have to pull out the records and go over the accuracy. Has the Daftar been down there been accurate for the last 40 years, or have we been accurate? That's what they got to do now today. So we are saying they got to hold off. You fight or plant in the season you want to fight or you want to plant in. You don't do nothing according to what they do. You don't allow them to provoke you. Okay. Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is desired. Ameen. A comment to say.